Kings in captivity seek Krishna's help to kill Jarasandha. Once Lord Krishna was holding his court when an emissary arrived in the court. The kings who were held captive forcibly by Jarasandha had sent him. The emissary related the miseries of those kings to Lord Krishna. Through the emissary, the kings had requested, "O Lord of the world, kindly get us free from our miseries. We are in your refuge. We desire your sight. Kindly bestow us with your grace." Lord Krishna sent the emissary off with assurance of timely action. Meanwhile, Devarshi Narada arrived in the court and informed the Lord of Yudhishthira's intention to organize a grand Rajasuya Yajna and his cordial invitation for the Lord to attend the ceremony. Lord asked his friend Uddhava for an advice as to where he ought to go first, to Indraprastha in Rajasuya Yajna or to liberate the king from the captivity of Jarasandha. Uddhava advised Lord to go to Indraprastha first. There he would be able to serve both the purposes. Uddhava's advice was in the interest of all. Everyone supported it. Taking permission from his priest and teachers, Lord Krishna set out on a chariot with the whole family to reach Indraprastha. In Indraprastha, Pandavas accorded Lord Krishna with warm-hearted felicitations. By the dictate of Lord Krishna, Mayasur built a divine-looking court for Yudhishthira. The courtroom was a marvelous piece of architecture. The shining, smooth floor of it appeared like water, while water bodies presented a look like marble floors. During Yudhishthira's Rajasuya Yajna, all the Pandavas set out in all the directions to conquer the kings and expand the boundaries of their kingdom. Warriors like Bhima, Arjuna defeated great kings all around and extended the boundaries of Yudhishthira's empire. But to defeat Jarasandha, Bhima, Arjuna and Lord Krishna went in the guise Brahmans. They reached Jarasandha capital, Girivraj, and prayed him for donations. Jarasandha promised to give them the things of their desires. Lord Krishna then introduced them and begged Jarasandha for a duel with any of them. Jarasandha accepted to fight a duel with Bhima. He gave Bhima a make and both of them came out to the outskirts of the town where they began their duel. Both of them were equally strong and equally brave and well-pitted. 27 days passed, but their duel remained inconclusive. On the 28th day, during the fight, Lord Krishna signaled Bhima a way to kill Jarasandha. He took a small twig in his hands and tore it apart into two. Bhima understood the signal and beating Jarasandha on ground, he tore him apart into pieces and threw them in opposite directions. Thus came the end of evil Jarasandha. Lord Krishna and Arjuna heartily greeted Bhima for his success. They then enthroned Jarasandha's son Sahadev and also got the captive kings released. Salvation of Shishupal. King Yudhishthira had invited great Vedic Brahmans and Acharyas on the occasion. Persons from Kaurva's side like Drona, Bhisma, Kripacharya, Dhritarashtra, Vidura and Duryodhan etc. were too invited to witness the celebrations. Even Brahma, Shiv, Indra, Gandharvas, Vidyadhar had too arrived. But before the yajna could start, a dispute cropped up among the great sages as to who ought to be worshipped first in the yajna. In the opinion of Sahadev, youngest of the Pandav brothers, not the son of Jarasandha, Lord Krishna deserved the first worship. Every one supported him. Only Shishupal could not tolerate the decision. He stood up and said, in the presence of such great ascetics, savants, polymaths and sages, how can this cowherd deserve the first worship? Despite Shishupal's bitter remarks, Lord Krishna kept quiet. But Shishupal did not. Encouraged by Lord Krishna's silence, he began to attack the kings, who stood by Lord Krishna's side with sword. He was simultaneously abusing Lord Krishna. Also, Lord Krishna had assured Shishupal of this forgiveness for up to 100 sins. But now, Shishupal's sins have crossed that permitted number. So, quieting all, Lord Krishna cut his head with his wheel. As soon as the dead body of Shishupal fell on the ground, a flame emerged from it and merged with Lord Krishna. Shukdev says, O Parikshit, feelings of hostility had been accumulating in the heart of Shishupal for his past 3 births against Lord Krishna. It was because of these intense hostile feelings that Shishupal met salvation eventually. After the salvation of Shishupal, ceremonies and rituals of Yajna proceeded unabated. At the end, King Yudhishthira presented all those present there with fitting gifts and took ceremonial bath. At the request of Pandavas, Lord Krishna stayed in Indraprastha for many months. Salvation of Shah. Shukdev says, Parikshit, now listen to the tale of how Lord Krishna caused salvation for Shah. Shah was the childhood friend of Shishupal and had attended the marriage of Rukmani as a member of Shishupal's wedding party. At that time, Yaduvanshis had defeated them all, including Jarasandh and Shah. Right at that moment, Shah had resolved to destroy Yaduvanshis and began worshipping gods of the gods Pashupti, Shiv. Lord Ashutosh Shiva was pleased with him. As a boon, Shah had got an aeroplane that was invincible even for the gods, demons, humans, nagas, etc., and was particularly formidable for Yaduvanshis. By the dictate of Lord Shiva, the demon Maya constructed such an aeroplane of iron. The aeroplane named Saub was as big as a city and was difficult to be spotted or caught. It could move as fast as one's wishes. Soon after getting the aeroplane, Shah launched an attack of Dwarka. Surrounding Dwarka, Shah began to destroy buildings and houses there. Seeing the people terrorized, Pradyumna consoled them to be fearless, and he set out on a chariot to counter Shah. He pierced Shah with arrows. But Shalva's minister Dayumana attacked Pradyumna with a make. By the blow of the make, Pradyumna lost his consciousness. But soon he came around and began to slay Shah's forces. The fierce battle continued for 27 days. Lord Krishna was away then in Indraprastha Yajna. But he was sure that in his absence Kshatriya kings of Shishupal's side would be attacking on Dwarka. Lord Krishna reached Dwarka and saw a fierce battle between Pradyumna and Shah. Seeing Lord Krishna arrive, Shah began to attack him with sharp arrows. Lord Krishna hit Shah with a powerful blow of make, and he began to spit blood from his mouth. He then tried to show many illusions and showered Lord Krishna with weapons. But Lord Krishna wounded Shah with his arrows, broke his aeroplane with his make. Very soon thereafter the aeroplane plunged into the sea. Shah then attacked Lord Krishna with make, but Lord Krishna cut his head with Sudarshan wheel. Seeing his end, all the gods showered flowers on Krishna. Salvation of Dantavaktra and Vidurat. After the killing of Shishupal, Shah, etc., Dantavaktra arrived in the battlefield carrying a make. When Lord Krishna saw him coming, he too jumped down from the chariot and balked his movement with a make. Dantavaktra tried to humiliate God with his abuses and hit him on head with his make. Lord Krishna easily bore the blow of make and hit Dantavaktra's chest with his make named Kaumodki. Dantavaktra's heart tore apart by the blow and he fell dead. Vidurath was the brother of Dantavaktra. He came in the field with sword and shield to avenge his brother's death. Seeing him ready to launch an attack, Lord Krishna cut Viduratha's head with his wheel. Thus, Lord Krishna entered Dwarka only after killing Shav, Dantavaktra and Vidurath. All the gods and other inhabitants of heaven showered flowers on him. Sudama, the Lord Krishna's friend. During his stay as a disciple at the hermitage of sage Sandipani, Lord Krishna had a Brahman friend named Sudama. He was very indifferent in nature with no desires for the material things. After their education, Lord Krishna came to Dwarka while Sudama, who had no any inclination for accumulating material wealth, got married and began to pass his life with his wife Sushila in abject poverty. One day his wife Sushila said, "O Lord, your friend Krishna is the king of Dwarka. He is very benevolent to Brahmins and his devotees. If you go to see him, he will understand your miseries and grant you a lot of wealth." But Sudama plainly refused, saying, "Devi, I have chosen the path of devotion for self-upliftment and not for the wealth." Sushila, however, kept off insisting, "All right, don't go for the wealth. But at least you can go to see your old friend." Sudama accepted this proposition, thinking that only the sight of Lord yields supreme benefit to the devotee. But he wanted something as a gift to present to his old friend. At this, his wife tied 4 handfuls of raw rice in a bundle. With that humble gift, Sudama set out for Dwarka. His poverty was at its hem. But he kept on reciting Lord Krishna's name all along the way. After walking for some distance, Sudama felt thirsty. He drank water, quenched his thirst, and thanked God that he at least does give water to drink. Sudama kept on walking the whole day. In the evening, he kept the bundle of rice under his head as a pillow and slept. Now it was Lord Krishna's turn to show his gratitude for the devotee. When Sudama awoke in the morning, he found himself right in front of Lord Krishna's palace. At first he could not believe his eyes, but the people told him that he was in Dwarka and standing right before the Lord's palace. Sudama requested the gatekeeper to inform Lord Krishna that his childhood friend Sudama had come. Lord Krishna was sitting in the company of Rukmani when the gatekeeper delivered the message. As soon as Lord Krishna learned about Sudama's arrival, he stood up and ran helter-skelter to welcome his childhood friend. At the gate he cordially embraced Sudama and escorted him into his private chamber and made him sit on the throne. Krishna and Queen Rukmani both washed Sudama's feet one by one. By the mere touch of his friend, Krishna was feeling overjoyed. His eyes filled with tears. He and Sudama were holding each other's hands. Their hearts were beating with the memories of their period as disciples at the hermitage of Sandipani. For long, none of them could utter a word. At last Sudama said, "O Jagadguru Krishna, I have the fortune of being your friend. What remains for me to do?" Lord Krishna said, "Brother, have you brought for me something sent by my sister-in-law? I love to accept even the pettiest thing presented with affection." At Krishna's words, Sudama felt ashamed, and he did not reveal the 4 handfuls of raw rice that he had brought as gift. With shame, Sudama began to look at the ground. Lord Krishna knew everything that his dear friend Sudama had never remembered him with a desire for wealth. This time too he has come at the insistence of his wife. Hence, I will give him the wealth that is rare even for the gods, thought Lord Krishna, and snatched the bundle of raw rice and opened it with great respect. He put 1 handful of it in his mouth. When Lord proceeded to take next handful, Queen Rukmani held his hand and prayed, "O Vishwambhar, fosterer of the world, for the prosperity of entire world, this 1 handful is sufficient." Sudama stayed that night in the palace of Sri Krishna. There he experienced the comfort of Vaikuntha, abode of God. Staying there for many days, Sudama at last took leave of Sri Krishna and set out for his home. Lord Krishna did not give Sudama anything apparently, nor did Sudama asked for his favor. He was traveling overwhelmed by a divine sense of devotion and felt that Krishna might have not given him wealth lest he should forget him. Thus, sunk in myriad kinds of thoughts, Sudama reached his home. But at the place where his dilapidated hut stood once, there was now a divine palace surrounded by verdant gardens. The floors of the palace were embedded with precious gems and stones. Standing at the gate, Sudama felt confused when his wife Sushila came out with scented water to welcome him. Tears were rolling on her cheeks. With love she greeted Sudama and escorted him inside the palace. Sudama was still reflecting over the God's grace and praying, "May I have the friendship of Lord in every birth, may my affection increase for Lord Krishna's feet. I don't want wealth." Since then, Sudama enjoyed the comforts of the palace as the bounty of Lord Krishna bestowed upon him by none other than the Lord Krishna himself. His devotion increased day by day. Meeting of Lord Krishna with gopis. Shukdev says, "O Parikshit, Lord Krishna was passing his time with pleasure in Dwarka. A total solar eclipse happened to fall during that period. People from all over India thronged in Kurukshetra to take a dip in sacred Ganges on that great occasion. All the Yaduvanshis too arrived there. When Vrajvasis, inhabitants of Vraj, learned about Krishna and Balram's arrival in Kurukshetra, they too assembled there. During the festival, Lord Krishna met his foster father Nand and other cowherds who were his childhood friends. Lord Krishna met the gopis also, who had been pining for his sight since long. They enjoyed the meeting and kept on chatting for long. Overwhelmed by love and joy, Vasudev embraced Nand. Lord Krishna and Balram respectfully greeted Mother Yashoda and Father Nand. They too embraced Krishna and Balram cordially. Gopis were specially overwhelmed by Lord Krishna's sight. They had no other desire but to have a sight of Lord Krishna. That day their long-cherished dream had come true. Gopis imbued the captivating appearance of Lord Krishna and experienced the joy of embracing him. Krishna met all the gopis and embraced them. He inquired about their well-being and preached them with spiritual knowledge. By the virtue of that knowledge, feeling of living disappeared among the gopis and they merged with God forever. Organization of Yajna by Vasudev. Devarshi Narada, Vyas and many other great sages arrived in Kurukshetra to have a sight of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna welcomed them all. Then Vasudev greeted them and inquired about way for his self-upliftment. Laughingly, Narada said, Vasudev, a person already living at the bank of the Ganges, discards her holy water and goes to other places of pilgrimage for his purification. In the presence of Krishna and Balram, the sages said, you regard the indescribable, eternal Sachidanand Shri Krishna as your son, and seek the way of your self-upliftment from us. O Vasudev, recognize him. Take to his refuge, only he can save you. Vasudev got the meaning of sage's words and began to develop feelings of devotion for his son. Every human being has obligation for the gods, sages and his ancestors. The sages got a yajna performed in Kurukshetra by Vasudev to free him from the obligation for gods. Revesting of Devki's 6 sons. In Dwarka, Krishna and Balram used to greet their parents first daily in the morning. Now, Vasudev had recognized his identity. So after their return from Kurukshetra, when Krishna and Balram went as usual to greet their parents, Vasudev greeted them first. Lord Krishna then preached his father about the metaphysical knowledge. With that knowledge, Vasudev began to see Krishna everywhere. Mother Devki was also present there. Memory of her 6 children, who were killed by Kansa, was still afresh in her mind. She had heard that Krishna had fetched the dead son of Sandipani from Yamloka. So she prayed to them, you both are venerable even to the gods. Kindly grant me my desire. Show me my 6 sons who were killed by Kansa. By their mother's dictate and helped by Yogmaya, both the brothers reached Sutal Loka. The demon king Bali welcomed them there and offered them a seat and washed their feet. King Bali then asked God what could he do for him. Lord said, O demon king, in Swayambhu Manvantara, 6 sons were born to Arna, the wife of Prajapati Marichi. They were all gods. They had once seen Brahma trying to copulate with his own daughter and hence derided at him. Indignant Brahma had then cursed them to take birth in demon incarnation. They therefore were born as the sons of Hiranyakashipu. In the present era, Yogmaya had made them born as Devki's sons who were killed by Kansa. They are all now in your loka. Mother Devki is mourning for them, so we shall take them with us. They will thus be freed from the curse and go to their heavenly abode. Thus Lord Krishna and Balram brought those 6 babies to Dwarka and handed them to Mother Devki. Seeing her babies again, Devki's heart filled with love for her sons. Milk began to flood her breasts. She breastfed them. Drinking the milk, all the babies received salvation. They then departed to their heavenly abode. Love and marriage of Subhadra and Arjuna. King Parikshit asked Gurudev, how did my grandfather Arjuna and grandmother Subhadra got married? I want to hear this tale. Kindly narrate it to me. Shukdev said, Parikshit, once travelling on a pilgrimage tour, Arjuna reached in Prabhas region. There he learned that Balram was desirous of marrying his sister Subhadra to Duryodhan. But Vasudev and Krishna were not in the favor of this marriage. So, a strong urge took hold in his mind to get Subhadra as his wife. Acting as per the urge, Arjuna reached Dwarka in the guise of Vaishnav sage. It was rainy season then, so with an excuse of Chaturmasya Vrata, 4 months long fast, Arjuna stayed in Dwarka. During his stay, Balram served and looked after him very well. But neither Balram nor any other inmates of the palace could recognize Arjuna. Once Balram invited Arjuna to his home. There he offered good, delicious food to Arjuna. Subhadra too served him well. There they fell in love with each other. Later on, boarding a chariot, Subhadra went out of the palace for a joy ride. At the outskirts of the town, Arjuna was awaiting for her. He had already taken permission of Devaki, Vasudev and Krishna. Subhadra too had silently nodded her acceptance. So that evening Arjuna and Subhadra eloped from Dwarka. The news of Subhadra eloping with Arjuna first outraged Balram. But Lord Krishna and other near and dear ones convinced and pacified him. Release of Shiva from CRISIS Maitre asked. Gurudev, those among the gods, human beings and the demons who worship Lord Shiva get wealth very soon. But those who worship Lord Narayana remain afflicted with scarcity. What is the reason for that? In reply, Lord Krishna had said, O Yudhishthira, I take away all the wealth from those whom I bestow my grace. When they are poor, their relatives desert them. I even render their efforts useless when they try to earn money. Thus being unsuccessful repeatedly, the people develop an attitude of indifference for wealth. Then they begin to take shelter as my devotee and mingle with me. Only then I bestow my full grace on them and they receive me as Satchidanand Parabrahma. Thus, pleasing me through my worship is extremely difficult. Hence, ordinary people give me up and worship other deities, which are in fact different forms of me. Lord Shiva is Ashutosh and bestows his devotees quickly with grace. He gives wealth and other riches to his devotees. But once they get wealth, the devotees become despotic and even forget the God who had blessed them. Once upon a time, there was a demon Vrikasur. He had pleased Lord Shiva and sought a boon. That the person, upon whose head the demon put his hand, should be incinerated at once. Lord Shiva granted the boon without considering the consequences. But as soon as the demon got this supernatural power, he ran to incinerate Lord Shiva first. The demon was eyeing Gauri Parvati. So he was determined to eliminate Lord Shiva. Now afraid of his own boon, Lord Shiva ran for his life, with the demon following him in hot pursuit. At last Shiva reached in Vaikunth and told Lord Vishnu about his crisis. Lord at once illumined the demon and made him put his hand on his own head. By the virtue of the boon, the demon was incinerated in no time and thus Lord Shiva could be saved. Testing of Trinity. Once upon a time, all the sages assembled on the bank of Saraswati river. A dispute erupted among them as to who among the Trinity was the greatest. By consensus they appointed sage Bhrigu to test the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Bhrigu reached to Brahma but did not greet him. Brahma got infuriated, but since the sage Bhrigu was his son, he did not curse him. Then Bhrigu visited Shiva. Lord Shiva proceeded to embrace the sage. But instead of accepting Shiva's welcome, the sage began to abuse him, saying, "You violate the dignity of Vedas, so I will not meet with you." Angry Shiva raised his trident to kill him, but Bhagavati stopped him. At last Bhrigu reached Vaikuntha to see Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu was lying with head in the lap of Lakshmi. Bhrigu kicked hard at his chest. But instead of getting angry, Lord Vishnu got up, bowed his head before the sage and begged pardon. "O sage, pardon me, I could not welcome you at once at your arrival. Your feet are soft, I hope. They are not hurt. All my sins have been washed by the touch of your feet." Bhrigu felt very pleased by the serious talks of Lord Vishnu. His heart felt overwhelmed with excess of devotion. He returned to the assembly of the sages and narrated his experience. Since then Lord Vishnu is regarded as the supreme and giver of peace and fearlessness. Revival of Brahmans dead. Children. There in Dwarka lived a Brahman. When the first son was born to his wife, it died immediately after birth. The Brahman took his dead son to the royal court and complained, "My son has died because of anti-Brahman and licentious actions of the king." One by one, thus, 8 sons were born to the Brahman couple, but they all died immediately after birth. And the Brahman kept on dumping his dead sons at the gate of the royal palace. When his 9th son was born and died, Arjuna was also there in Dwarka. He made a promise to the Brahmans, "I shall guard your son or commit self-immolation." At the time of next delivery, the agitated Brahman came to Arjuna. Training his bow and arrows, Arjuna made all arrangements to protect Brahman's 10th son. Sanctified by many mantras, Arjuna's arrows constructed a fence around the labor room. A child took birth, but it too died after some time. Brahman then cursed Arjuna. Arjuna scouted through all the 3 worlds and even the netherworlds in search of the Brahman's dead son, but he could not find him anywhere. Ultimately accepting his failure and as per his promise, Arjuna proceeded to immolate himself. Meanwhile, Lord Krishna too learned about Arjuna's vow and stopped him from self-immolation. Thereafter, riding a divine chariot, Lord Krishna set out with Arjuna towards west, beyond the limits of cosmos. They reached the abode of Lord Vasudeva in Tripvibhuti. There, Arjuna saw that Lord was present in Purushottam's appearance. Shri Krishna and Arjuna greeted him. Lord Purushottam said in a serious voice, "O Krishna and Arjuna, only to have a sight of both of you, I brought the Brahman's sons to me. Both of you had taken incarnation on earth from my heart to protect the religion. All the demons have been slain by now. Now you too return to me." Shri Krishna and Arjuna again greeted Lord Purushottam and returned on earth with all the sons of the Brahman. Arjuna was greatly surprised to see the supreme abode of Lord Purushottam. He felt that whatever strength a living being had, it been all by Shri Krishna's grace. Like common, ordinary people, the Lord Krishna stayed on earth enjoying mundane comforts, performed yajnas like kings, behaved like idealistic people, deterred his subjects and slayed evil kings to re-establish religion on earth.